Welcome to Why We're Fans. I'm Duran, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host, Gennaro.
In all of our episodes, we cover the past, present, and the future of all your favorite NFL football teams.
We love hearing your stories, talking the NFL draft, and reminiscing about the good old days.
If you like the same, be sure to subscribe to this channel and like this episode. And leave a comment below if you want to answer any of our questions.
Follow us on Twitter to stay up to date on our latest interviews. And like we always say, win or lose, we're all fans. Enjoy this episode.
And welcome to another episode of Why We're Fans. It's your hosts, as always, Gennaro and Duran Munez. Duran, how's it going?
Good. We got a lot of news going down today in the NFL, and I know we're here to talk about the Niners, and they got some changes going down too. So we got a lot to talk about.
Yeah. Shout out to Devontae. Man, I'm pissed that he's with the Raiders, but hey, man, he found a new home.
And a big bank account.
And a big bank account. He's living in Vegas. But yeah, man, I'm excited about this interview. I've been following this guy for a while now, following his content about the Senior Bowl. And yeah, man, without further ado, let's bring in Javier Vega, man.
Hey, what's up, guys? How are y'all? Thanks for having me.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man. What do you do during the off season? Do you cover any other sports, or is it all football, draft, and all that stuff?
For the most part, once football's over, I get into draft mode. Like right now, I'm fully on draft mode and free agency, and then I kind of take a break. Like I can't do this. Like it's the stress level, especially with the Niners, is like, all right, man. Like figure out what the hell you guys are doing before you give your fan base a heart attack. You know, baseball. I follow the Yankees. I'm a big Yankee fan. My dad grew up in the Bronx, so it kind of like that was like a rite of passage. In my household, you have to be a Yankees fan, and then basketball. I just don't. I follow it. My fandom has changed in basketball ever since like D Rose tore his ACL, and you know, I mean, I'm a Bulls fan. Don't get me wrong, but like, I just enjoy good basketball. So like, if I can watch the Warriors play, if I'm watching the Suns play, or you know, a team that has like really good chemistry, I'm going to definitely watch them. You know, I'm a big Dame Lillard fan and things like that. So basketball's fine. But for the most part, during the summertime, it's just me, the kids, the wife, and try to catch a baseball game here and there and kind of take a break from content. I've been trying to step away for a long time, but it's like that scene in Godfather 3. Every time I think I'm out, they pull me right back in. It's you know, I wasn't going to go to the Senior Bowl, and then I ended up going to the Senior Bowl. I wasn't going to go to the Combine. I didn't go, but I got my credential. And then the draft thing, I got my credential for that. So it's like, man, I want to get out, but it's just, it is what it is, man. You know what I mean? I love it, but at the end of the day, sometimes the social media part of it gets a little tiring, and I think that's part of why I'm slowly trying to transition out of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
producing content.
Oh yeah, 100%. But the content you do put out is awesome. Whether it's, you know, Senior Bowl prospects or, you know, Trey Lance in practice, it's all great to me. I definitely know where to find you, but go ahead and hype yourself up. You know, plug yourself. You know, let everybody know where they can find you.
Yeah, I'm on Twitter. That's the best platform to reach me at. It's on Twitter at Javier Vega _. I do the host and produce the Fourth and Goal podcast. That's something that I built up on. I shouldn't say on my own, but I had a previous co-host. He's no longer with us. But you know, this is year 4 now. Me and my buddy Fernando are running it, and it's doing really well. And then I also work for SB Nation, doing the Niner Nation podcast with Leo Luna. Shout out to Rob Stats Guerrero and all those other guys who help out with that show. And then me and Leo started a website, 49ers Goldmine. Kind of, you know, I think I bit off more than I can chew by trying to have what the website builds, and then 2 podcasts. It's just a lot. But you know, I think what I'm kind of like talking freely here, but I think what I'm most thankful for is the opportunities that I helped create. Right. So like guys like Jason Aponte, Jordan Elliott, I'm not taking credit for their success. I'm just saying, like, you know, they tell me these things, like that I've helped them get to a certain spot. Right. Mm-hmm. So if you know any of those people online, you know, those guys are at the Combine, those guys are at the Senior Bowl. And part of that was because they're part of the website, and those things have happened. So, you know, for me, starting off from a podcast that had 100 listens to now 15,000 per episode, you know, in 4 years, to me, that's pretty good growth. And then, you know, just some kid, or I shouldn't say kid, but some guy just who's in the auto industry, you know, being able to get to the Senior Bowl and draft credentials, and eventually hopefully get to maybe a Niner game credential. I think it's been a fun ride, dream come true, and it's just it's a lot of hard work, but we've gotten there, and I wouldn't have got here without my wife's support, and she doesn't give a shit about football, so she's like, whatever, go talk to your friends, I don't care.
Keep up the hard work, man. I know everyone enjoys it.
Trying to figure out these templates, man. These overlays are.
Yeah, man. It's definitely been a fun ride. Reading all the content you put out, and also as well as guys like Ponte and Elliot putting it out there as well. I like how you gave them the tools and just watch them run with it and do their own thing. You guys all have different takes, and you guys seem to all go for the bat with each other too. And you guys got a good click going. So so it's good to read you guys' content. So thank you guys.
Good people. That. So that's a plus. When you surround yourself with decent people, makes it easier to work with them. Me and Jason did the Senior Bowl together this year, and that was fun. The practices are cool, but what you do afterwards is even better. You get to socialize with people in the league, rubbing elbows with scouts, and you run into GM here and there. You talk to, I stood next to Mike Tomlin for 20 minutes. You know what I mean? Like, who would ever thought I'd be able to do that type of stuff? So that was pretty cool. So, it's a fun ride so far.
Yeah. All right, Duran, anything else before we get started?
Oh, I'm ready to dive in.
All right. Crack of that beer. All right, first things first. Javi, how did it all start?
My fandom?
Yeah, how did it all start with you being part of the faithful?
The Niner faithful, I grew up in Pennsylvania, right? And so my dad, this is crazy, right? It's a house divided for real. My dad's a Bears fan because he's a big Walter Payton guy, or was a big Walter Payton guy. Obviously, he's not with us anymore. Rest in peace to Walter Payton. I never got into the Bears. I grew up in Philadelphia. Didn't like the Eagles. But my cousins, they were like 6 or 7. They're 6 or 7 years older than me, and I would spend a lot of time over there on Sundays. And they always had like this hot box, and I was like this like special cable box that would get everything. And every time I went over there on Sunday, the Niners were on. It was Steve and Ricky and Jerry and T.O. and Garrison Hurst, and the list of players. And I just fell in love with it, right? And my favorite player was Ricky Waters for a long period of time. And just being around my cousins, they're older than me. If anyone out there is close to your cousins, sometimes you want to be just like your cousins. And that's kind of what happened there. Shout out to my cousin Pedro and cousin Edwin. Those two big influences on my fandom. And they're diehard Niner fans, and they support what I'm doing now. They're like, man, how the hell did you do this? Get into this stuff, They're older, so they don't understand how to, get on a microphone and, edit, do graphic editing and video content. But, I went to an Eagles game one time. The Eagles played the Broncos. It was Cunningham versus Elway. Wow. And I saw some guy get his ass beat in the stands. And I'm like, this doesn't make any sense to me. Like, I'm like 7 years old. I'm like, why? What is going on? And I just never really had an affinity to be an Eagles fan. So I just kind of ventured my way over to San Francisco as a Niner fan. Yeah, they won early in the 90s, but for people like, oh, you're a bandwagon fan. I'm like, did you forget what happened in the early 2000s up until 2011? Like, yeah, they were terrible, right? So
we're called the faithful for a reason.
Yeah, like, what are we talking about? You can't sit here and call me a bandwagon fan. Like, I lived through all that shit. And then, of course, the Chip Kelly year, and then the Tom Sula years, and then, Kyle's first 3 years were freaking awful. 2 years were awful. And then, it is what it is. And then, it just stuck with me. I lived in Seattle for 5 years in the military. And, that was rough, from 04 to 05 to 2010. Like, the Niners were terrible the entire time. The only time I saw them win was the one game that Patrick Willis pick sixed. I want to say it was Hasselbeck or Tavares Jackson, one of the two. That was the only Niner win I saw up there. That was just pretty pathetic. But I stuck with them ever since I was like 7. I'm 35 now. It's been 28 years of just sticking with them. And I just as much as they frustrate me, I'm still going to watch and root and, just enjoy the games as much as possible. Now I enjoy them less now because I cover the team, because you start to learn about the game, and then you learn about the business because you talk to players and coaches and you hear all these other things. So you're just like, oh, well, whatever. I think this past season was like the least emotional I felt about this team. I was just like, man, whatever, just get this shit over with and start the new kid. Like, I'm just ready for that turn of the page. But fandom hasn't changed. I'm still a loyal fan. I still buy the hats. I still make sure I cop a jersey. This is not recorded live or nothing, but behind me is a autographed Frank Gore jersey, and the one below me is an autographed Patrick Willis jersey. I got, I got stuff in the background from I went to the last 2 games at Candlestick, the Vernon Post thing. Been right there. I got my field pass from the Niners and Falcons a couple years back. So, I'm still dedicated. It's just the emotional aspect of it is probably not where it used to be. I think that's about it right now. But, fandom started early and it's still going to be there. My kids are Niner fans, and that's the fun part. I think being able to pass it on to my 7-year-old. I went to the Niners Cowboy playoff game, and my son Anthony, he asked my wife, he's like, did the Niners beat the Cowboys? And my wife told him yes, and he's like screaming up and down. He's like, Cowboys suck. So I think I've taught him well. So I think it's a good thing to pass that on.
You remember your first jersey?
Yeah, I actually had a Jeff Garcia jersey. Because I grew up. I shouldn't say I grew up broke, but we just didn't have like extra money to blow on stuff. You know what I mean? Like it was like school clothes, school sneakers, school supplies, food, and all the utility bills are paid, and that's kind of it, right?
Yeah.
But my uncle Pedro, he got me a Garcia jersey for my birthday, and that was my first like actual NFL jersey. And then I found my second NFL jersey was a TO jersey the year before he got he didn't get traded. Yeah, he got traded. The year before he got traded, I found it at Macy's. It was like $15, and I was like, "Oh shit, yeah!" It was a white one with the you remember the with the gold trim around the numbers and stuff.
The early 2000s.
Yeah, it was an iron-on, Reebok jersey. So I was like, hell, I was like super excited, and then fucking gets traded. I was like, what is this? But so I only ever had like 2 jerseys coming up, and then when I got to the military, I ended up buying a Jerry Rice throwback, and I still have that one. Doesn't fit me as well because I was like 175 at the time. It doesn't fit me as well. I was in the military, so I was definitely in shape. But ever since then, I did. Now I'm just more collecting things, like collecting autograph stuff and maintaining those things. But yeah, first jersey was definitely Jeff Garcia. I wanted a Ricky Waters 94, but that was well out of my parents' budget at the time for me to get that kind of stuff. But it is what it is.
What's your most prized possession that you got now?
Yeah, I think my Frank Gore jersey, and then Frank actually sent me this autographed helmet.
Nice. Oh, that's a dope helmet too.
Yeah, he sent me this black autographed Niner helmet. So that's another one that's pretty prized. And then obviously I'm a big Patrick Willis guy. I think everyone's a Patrick Willis guy. I have a Patrick Willis autographed jersey too. So those 2 are probably the biggest things. And then you guys remember those McFarland dolls back in the day?
I don't.
I can't think of them at the moment.
Like the Funko Pop nowadays. Oh yeah, I have some of those.
Yeah. So like these are worth a whole bunch of money now, and I haven't never taken them out of the cases. So I have this one with the white jersey and the red jersey, the TO. So I have a couple of things that I'm really attached to.
Yeah, I have a Jerry Rice one.
Yeah.
I have a Jerry Rice one.
Yeah, and then above me, I'm gonna pull my camera up.
Yeah.
So right there, there's 3: Ronnie Lott, Jerry Rice, and Montana ones as well. So those are worth a lot of money. I just don't ever open them or touch them. So I just leave it as is. But yeah, those are my biggest things. And I think I have some other stuff I just haven't taken out of boxes. I do have a Derek Jeter rookie card, so that's pretty close to the heart there.
You gotta hang on to that one.
Yeah, and then my wife bought me. So Mariano Rivera did a series of autographs on baseballs right after his 602nd save. So I have like this container. It's downstairs in my bedroom or in my closet, excuse me. It has its 602nd save. It's in like this memorabilia case. It's autographed by Mariano Rivera. It's pretty expensive, and I did a pricing on it a couple of weeks ago. It was like, at this point, it's almost like $15,000 for a fucking baseball. I was like, okay, cool. She paid like $600, and it's appreciated so much that I just leave it in its case. I don't even touch it. It's like a shrine in my house. Don't touch that thing. You know what I mean? So, I got a lot of memorabilia and stuff that I like, but most of the prize possession stuff is the autograph stuff. That stuff's a whole lot more weight. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. I know I still have a autographed napkin from Steve Mariucci.
Oh shit.
Yeah, my parents they saved up enough to send me. Duran, did you come with us that year when we went to the camp? Me, my cousin, and my brother to a football camp that he was hosting with a couple of Niners. The Niners left early, but he stayed behind to talk to the coaches, and my mom snuck in there and got a couple autographs for us. So I remember keeping that napkin. I know my mom has it somewhere, but yeah, shout out to moms for hanging on to that.
Yeah, those are sweet. I met Mariucci at the draft in Dallas. He signed a hat for me. I just don't know where the hat is. I think I was too drunk to remember where I put it that night. But yeah, he was doing the NFL draft stuff, and when they were in Dallas, that was the McGlinchey draft. Yeah, the McGlinchey draft, and he autographed a hat, and he was all cool with the Niner fans. I miss Mooch, man. I think he was one of the better coaches in Niner history. That's for sure.
Yeah, Mooch, man. I always had such a high praise for him because he came from Cal, and I've always followed Cal, even though I'm a Texas fan because Ricky Williams was my guy. But I always follow Cal because they're close to home. They're like a 30-minute drive from me. So when I just liked watching them a lot and seeing, that Mooch came from him. I followed him a lot, followed him closely. Seeing him coach Detroit was still a little weird for me.
That was rough.
Yeah, it was.
I want to know what your game day setup is like. Are you a live tweeter? Do you watch it alone? Do you go to a bar? And also, how did you watch the game when you were in the military?
So my game day setup, honestly, I don't have a game day setup anymore. I have come to the realization there's literally nothing that I can do in my house that has any effect in the game. I used to be that person that would be like, no, I have to wear this jersey, sit in this seat. This is why this happens here. Blah, blah, blah. Now it's like
superstition.
Yeah, all that superstitious stuff is out of the window now. So I'm just like, all right, whatever. I'm just going to sit down, watch the game. And I live tweet now because of the content that I have to have. Well, not have to have, but I've been maintaining. I've switched from being emotionally tweeting to more like analytical tweeting, going through the stats. And if you guys go through my tweets, you'll see like the pass charts. I'm more focused on the quarterback, right? Especially with the most recent discussion with Jimmy and Lance and just Jimmy the last couple of years.
Don't forget about starts.
Yeah, and yeah. Put some respect on Sudfeld's name. But I think part of why I do those things is to help people understand what I've been seeing with Jimmy Garoppolo for the last 3-4 years. He's just not very good, and plain and simple. It just is what it is, right? Like in 2019,
hey, we're trying to trade him, man. He's the best there is.
Yeah, he's the GOAT. With the Jimmy Garoppolo stuff, part of those reasons I was tweeting like that is just to make sure I'm not controlling a narrative, but making sure I'm staying consistent with my analysis on the quarterback. Like he'll get praise for good things and he'll get criticism for bad things. And those pass charts do help. It doesn't tell the full story, but it does, kind of amplify in a visual sense for those who don't understand what's going on or what they're watching when it comes to the scheme and how defenses are playing him and what's open, what's not open, things like that. And I don't ever really go to the bar to watch a game or Niner game. I have to be by myself. Like I need to focus, right? I just like to focus. Like the only people that sit with me to watch the game are my boys, and they barely sit down to watch. They'll watch a couple quarters and then they go upstairs to the playroom or whatever. In the military, I didn't get to watch shit, dude. I think I got to go to I got to see 4 NFL games the entire time I was in the military, and that's in NFL games. I went to Eagles versus Seattle. I went to Washington versus Seattle. Niners versus Seattle, and I think I watched the Super Bowl, the 08 one. Was it 08? Yeah, that was it because I was always deployed, and being out in the middle of the sea, you don't get much TV. It's more like what's on the ship, and the ship TV is either like just movies or news. We didn't get much football on the ship at the time, so I missed 4 or 5 seasons of football. The other time I got to go see the Niners was when we were in port, and we'd be there for couple weeks and we're back out to sea. So I missed like a good chunk of the Nolan and Singletary and all that other shit. I'm kind of glad I did, right? Because it was miserable.
Yeah. You had to miss that clown suit on the sideline.
Yeah, but then I got out of the service and Harbaugh was there. I remember watching the first Niner game after I got out of the military. I was at my uncle's house and we were watching. It was the Cowboy and Niner game. And the Cowboys were good that year with Romo and shit. And we lost that game ultimately, but we were kind of kicking their ass and we gave it up. But then the team started getting better and better and better. And I was like, oh, are we back? And then obviously gets the NFC title game, lose to the Giants. But yeah, I missed a whole bunch of games and when I was in the military. So, but yeah, hope that answers your questions, but I just don't. Now it's just like I just sit there, crack a beer, maybe, and like most of the time I stand up in front of the TV. I'm like trying to count I'm trying to do what Kyle Shanahan does, just count. You do the math, like where the offense is lined up versus the defense. Try to line up numbers and figure out what I'm seeing, what he's seeing. I don't know. I'm just weird like that. I shouldn't say stand up because the only 3 times I stood up this year was when Lance was in, and that was for the Seattle game, the Arizona game, and the Texas game. I was just like, all right, let me get out of my seat because you know what you're getting with Jimmy, right? So you're just like, whatever, man. This is what's gonna happen. We're gonna go sweep left, sweep right. Oh, dink and dunk here, 6-yarder. Oh, boot action, and maybe Debo's wide open, or Jimmy's gonna throw a stupid ass interception. So those things you knew were coming. With Lance, you kind of got that sense of excitement back. You know what I'm saying? Like you were like, oh shit, let me get off my seat because that's how I kind of felt with Kaepernick. There was a level of excitement of when you're watching a guy who can do a lot of things. You get up for that kind of stuff.
Yeah, man. I remember even I watched it live, the Texans game this year, and me and my buddy Vic, shout out Vic. Man, we were standing pretty much the whole entire time. We couldn't sit down, even on defense. The excitement that it brings. So I kind of know what you're talking about. When you're watching Jimmy, slant, if he doesn't hit the slant, he's not going to have a good game. But when he starts hitting the slant, he's going to have a solid game. That's pretty much it.
Do you ever go to any training camps? Well, I think you have. You've attended training camps, right?
No, I've never gone to training camp.
Oh, okay.
I just don't have the time to do that. It just doesn't work for my schedule. But I want to. Just want to get out there and check it out. But you see one practice, see them all. They're all the same, really. I just like to see Lance in a real live game and kind of see where it goes from there. I mean, it'd be cool to get some credentials to do that, just to have them. I think I'm working my way up there to get that. But I don't know. I live in Texas. I get to go to UT practices all the time, and I've been to Aggie practice, and those are fun. So practice is practice. That shit gets boring after a while. Kind of like Senior Bowl practice.
We talk about practice.
Yeah.
I always like to know what guy has been the most impressive in person, either stature wise or speed or something like that.
I tell you what, when I had field passes for the Niners and Falcons game, Ahkello Witherspoon ran in front of me. And I was like, what the fuck? He was like, he's huge. I was like, get the fuck out of here. He ran by me. He was like, all you heard, like, he's like felt the wind because he was just hauling ass. I was like, what in the world? And then here comes Buckner. I was like, there's no way this big ass dude can keep his pad level the way he does. It's just like, Christ, man, like that guy is just something else. But it's impressive. I did get to see Justin Smith. He lost a lot of weight, but he was still like a man. Like I was a man's man. I was like, oh my God, this guy's huge. I will tell you the biggest fanboy moment of my life was that same day. Jerry Rice was on the field that day. Wow. And he walked right in front of me. He shook my hand. I said hello, and I bitched out. Like I just didn't even I froze for 2 seconds. I was like, yeah, that's Jerry. So
did he try to give you a can of his energy drink or what?
Man, I don't know what happened. I literally froze. I was gonna take a picture. So I just didn't even I didn't think about it. I mean, my buddy Fernando were there, and he was just like, dude, we just met Jerry Rice. I'm like, I know. And I didn't say a fucking word.
Yeah, man, it'll happen when you meet, the GOAT in wide receiving.
Yeah, I was like, that is fucking, what I mean? Like as a kid, that's who we all grew up watching. You're like, yo, that's Jerry. You know what I'm saying? Like I got to see Michael Jordan, when he would come down to Philly and play the Sixers. Like, okay, cool, it's Mike. But I didn't love basketball that way. You know what I mean? Like I got to meet Jeter. I love baseball, but I didn't love baseball the way I love football. And it's fucking Jerry Rice, dude. Like it's Jerry Rice, and he's just standing right in front of me. and I'm like an asshole just sitting there like,
You walked away like, this guy just fucking big time me. He didn't even ask me to take a picture or something.
Yeah, crazy.
All right, Duran, you got anything else for this question or for this section?
No, let's move on.
Actually, I got one more. Just one name. Montana or Steve?
Steve.
Attaboy. All right.
So whatever.
Before we go on to the next one, we like to guess it first. So we want to know your favorite player, So don't say it. Duran, if you want to go first, have at it.
Yeah, this is my stock answer for 49ers because he's my favorite 49er, Patrick Willis.
Like all time?
Yeah, all-time Niners.
All-time
Oh,
Niners. So
shit.
I'm going to go. I'm actually going to go with, you know what? I'm just going to play it safe here. I'm going to go with Frank Gore.
So you're asking me who my favorite Niner is?
Yep.
Yeah.
It's Ricky Waters.
Ricky Waters.
Okay.
Ricky.
He said it, but I was just like, okay, maybe.
But I mean, you're not off by the other two, right? Like, if I had to place an order on them, they're both in my top 5. You know, it's Ricky, it's Frank, it's Jerry, and it's Pat, right? And then
Maurice Hicks, maybe.
And then it's a toss up between T.O. and Brian Young, and you know what I mean, like and Joe Staley. Like Joe Staley crept into my top 5 because he gave me 5 hours of content on my podcast. Like we got to talk. We did the podcast together, and then he started drinking with us on the after show. And so the 2 hours, he's just talking and talking and talking. So, I mean, there's a lot of really great 49ers, but I think for some reason, Ricky Waters always just stood out to me. It's just like, and plus I got to see him a lot in Philadelphia too. So I had a really big affinity for him there.
What was it about him? Was it the nose strip? Like
it was a swag. It was a nose strip. He was ahead of his time. You know what I mean? He's a pass catching running back.
Yeah.
And he'd run you over, right? You know what I mean? Like,
where was he? Nebraska, right?
Yeah, I think it was Nebraska. I don't remember, but
Notre Dame.
You're right. That's right. Notre Dame. The Niners always have Notre Dame guys on their teams. Hopefully McGlinchey kind of gets healthy and let's see how that goes. But yeah, man, Ricky was just something else, man. The number 32 looked clean on, like 32 doesn't look good on a lot of players. It looked good on him.
It didn't look good on Kevin Barlow?
Absolutely not. You know, and the nose strip, the swag, the bandana, like that whole team just gave off that vibe, you know. And I just really liked Ricky. He looked good in a Niner. He should have been a Niner. Steve Young talks about it all the time. He's like, man, they should have fucking paid Ricky. They didn't pay him.
Yeah. And you guys kind of had the same path. You went San Francisco, Philly, and Seattle. Those are like the 3 places you were.
Yeah, exactly. You know, me and him are meant to be. One day I'm gonna get him on the pod. One day.
Oh yeah, man. That'd be awesome. I mean, hear him talk about, you know, his playing days now. It's like it's weird to hear it sounds shitty to say this. It sounds weird, but to hear a running back in the day sounds so clear and well spoken and like not a lot of head trauma, you know, is very rare, you know. So it shows like he didn't take a lot of hits because he was that good of a running back.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, like you see like those memes of like who was it, No Sean Moreno, like when the national anthem was playing, like he shed a cheer.
Yeah.
If you ever look at the old ones, they'd always pan through the players and you see like angry, like red eyes, teary eyes from Waters when, you know, he's getting ready to play. And it's like, you get chills watching that. Like even like rewatching old, you know, I didn't get to see him, you know, I don't remember it that much, but, you know, seeing that, it's like, damn, dude, it gives me chills, man. Like I'd run a wall. I'd, you know, lead block for this guy if I wasn't.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Shit.
That was my dude, bro. I enjoyed his time in the Niner. I just enjoyed him, period. Hold on, wait. Josina Anderson, I'm told the who's who of Atlanta, from members of the Braves, the Hawks, Music World, Lil Baby, Quavo, have all reached out to Sean Watson to let him know we want him home. I don't know, man. Watson,
the spot?
I think he ends up in Atlanta.
Yeah, me too.
Me too. I mean, they just cleared cap space. I feel like they're gonna bring him in for sure.
I mean, if Quavo's reaching out to you, come on.
That guy should be in the NBA.
If besides Ricky Waters, is there a underrated kind of low-key Niner player that you think deserves a little bit more credit?
Why is it Julian Peterson?
Maybe a lineman.
Oh, there you go. I mean, that was the name I was going to bring up. Julian Peterson was underrated, ahead of his time. I mean, think about it. I did a pod a couple of years ago going back to that Niner Giants playoff game. And we asked the question was, you know, who in that game would have been able to play today?
Yeah.
The answer is Julian Peterson.
Yeah.
Right. He gave you positional versatility. He could play inside. He could play outside. Oh, if you want him to rush the passer, you do it too. Julian Peterson deserves a lot more credit than he gets. William Floyd is another guy that deserves more credit than he gets.
Yeah.
I
think my pops had his jersey.
There's Deshaun Goldson, another guy that doesn't get enough love, for this time as a Niner.
The Hawk.
Yeah, there's guys like
there's so many like unsung heroes.
Like it got Goodwin, the center, for a while here in San Francisco. Like he was they turned around their offensive line. Like those guys, those key small additions, like that shit mattered, right? You know what I mean? Like those guys deserve more credit than they've gotten or they get. But Julian Peterson, absolutely. And I think that's just not in San Francisco fandom. It's league wide. Like, it's kind of like Fred Warner. Fred Warner was underappreciated league wide, but Niners fans knew who the hell he was. It's kind of like Julian Peterson. Niners fans know who he is, but as far as other fans go, they just didn't know because the team sucked, right? They weren't very good.
Yeah. Like who's this clown doing push-ups?
Yeah, but if he was on like Philadelphia during that run, he would have been all pro all the time. Like he'd just be well recognized, Pro Bowl, all pro. He would have got a whole bunch of more love for it. It just, I'm not saying there's East Coast bias, but there was a bias towards better teams, and roughly so, of course, right? You know what I mean? Like bad teams still have good players. It's just you're not recognized because you're not on national TV. You're not getting, the 4:00 spot with Joe Buck and Troy Aikman, right? You're getting the C team for broadcasting, so you don't get the recognition. And I think that's a problem around the league still, right? There's players who don't get enough love, right? Like another guy who doesn't get enough love, and I think Niners fans are going to hate me saying it because he dropped an interception. Kwaski Tart. Like Kwaski's been a top 10 safety for the last fucking 3 years, but no one knows him because he doesn't wow you with interception stats. But part of why you don't have interceptions is because people don't throw your way. Mm-hmm. Like that's kind of how this shit works. Like what are we talking about here? Like there's a level of fandom that irks me now at this point because of me being able to talk to players and going through film and learning the game a little bit better. Like sometimes it's a play that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and that's the kind of shit that Kwaski was doing for the Niners since he's been here. He's been one of those guys. Yes, he doesn't have all the turnovers, but there's a reason those turnovers don't exist because they don't throw his way.
Yeah. I mean, he was a solid player. I mean, it was to me, it's like, I think his eyes got big and he saw like the end zone before he caught the ball, because I was there at the Panthers game where he just laid out and just did one-handed interception. And I was like, damn, man, this guy covered a lot of ground. There might have been a miscommunication on that coverage, and he went up, got that ball, and started running it back. And I like that you said Tart, because he doesn't get a lot of love, especially after that dropped interception. But shout out to Kwaski Tart, man.
I love Kwaski.
Yeah, I like that. I like that dude for sure. When he came out of Sanford too, not a lot of people come out of there unless you're named Doug Hodges. But yeah, man, I liked him a lot. Remember when we drafted him? I'm like, who's this guy? I was like, man, this guy actually came on late, and I like him a lot. He's a small school guy. He won't last, and he's lasting, man. Hope he finds a home, man. If he comes back, he comes back. If not,
I would put good money that he's not coming back.
Yeah,
unfortunately.
All right. Let's see here. Duran, anything else?
No, let's move on to favorite memory.
Yeah, favorite memory.
Do you have a favorite memory being a Niners fan? I mean, you guys, do you remember any of the early Super Bowls?
So, Giants Niners playoff game, Jeff Garcia. I was
remember that.
What year was that? 02?
03.
Yeah. So I was a junior in high school.
Mm-hmm.
That game happened. And I grew up in Pennsylvania. There's a lot of Giants fans I go to school with. And this is before, this is when you do a little normal shit talking, and I get butthurt about the team losing or whatever. And I, being able to go into school the next day to be able to talk a little bit of shit was a big deal. I think the moment was the moment I thought we'd win the game is when literally T.O. runs over Jason Sehorn, steps on his chest for a touchdown, basically. I think that's one of my most favorite memories, was that one in 2003. And then the most recent one was 2013, when I actually got to go to Candlestick finally. Like I said, I grew up broke. We couldn't travel. Like I didn't travel like that when I was at home with my parents and stuff. And then the military, I just didn't have time. So in 2013, I got to, re-up, get reconnected with my homeboy from high school, Fernando, who's on the podcast now. And we were like, yo, the Candlestick's closing, bro. We never got to go. We got our own we got our own money now. Let's just do this thing. And we went out to Candlestick for the Seahawks and Niner game. The Niners won 19-17, and the Frank Gore run at the end of the game to kind of seal it. That was electric. And the best part about this, Fernando tells it better because he got to sit next to Richard Sherman's brother, which was hilarious. Sherman's brother sat next to us, and his mom was behind us. And Sherman's brother kept talking shit. And Fernando's like, hey, listen, buddy, I paid $400 for this ticket, and your brother's a millionaire, and you're sitting next to me. So be quiet. You know what I mean? Like, he kind of just insulted him a little bit like that. He ended up buying us a couple of beers and stuff. So it was cool. Yeah. But, that whole entire time was really, really good. And, seeing Frank break that run out, that was a slobber knocker game, bro. Like, people were getting laid out, and
slobber knocker, and shout out to Jim Ross. Love
it. And like I said, I've been to Seattle, and it's loud there, but Candlestick was rocking, dude. Like rocking that game, and it was cold. It was windy. You're getting the cold air off the water. I didn't think it'd be that cold in San Francisco like that. I had been in San Francisco before in the military for Fleet Week and stuff, but it was always in the summer. I was like, man, it's fucking cold. And I'm there with a hoodie, and I'm just shaking, having my beer. And for Frank to do that, I think that was the biggest moment. And then, so those are probably my two most favorite moments. I always think back to those two times. I remember standing in front of my TV in 2003, and it's like freaking out, just get back in this game because they're getting their ass kicked, and they get back in it. And then to go to Candlestick, that was, to add on to it. Like, I'm with my homeboy that I grew up with. Like, we're best friends. We're still best friends. It's Seattle. It's a game you had to win to get to the playoffs. Like, that was a big deal, man. Big deal.
Yeah, man. I bet that's the one where he felt like he broke it off, and he actually fell in bounce, right? To keep
it. Yeah. I thought he was going to get to the end zone. I was like, oh shit, he's going to get it. And he didn't get it, but whatever. Frank's smart. He stayed in bounds.
Yeah. He was a heads up player, man. Like, he necessarily wasn't like the best, like, on paper school's student. That's what he got a lot of knock on, as well as all of those guys from the U did. But man, as football smarts, everybody who played with him has nothing but great things to say about him, like how smart he is. And so for him to break off such a beast of a run and just fall down and bounce, keep that clock running, that's football smarts right there. Because
I don't think they care how smart he is. It was those knee injuries. That's what fucked him.
Yeah.
And then he goes into the NFL and becomes an Iron Man.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, dude. Yeah. Frank is underrated. People don't appreciate him enough.
Yeah, he's up there on the all-time rushing list. I mean, he should get a lot more credit than he does.
You know what it is, bro. It's because he was on bad Niner teams, and that's what happened. That's what it is.
And then he went to a lot of bad teams after that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else, G?
No, man, not for this one, man. I remember those.
Those are two great memories. The note that I have on that Giants game, 2003 wild card game, 24-point comeback. They were down 38-14 in the third quarter. So that's an exciting one to watch and remember.
I think the white cornerback died when.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God.
It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a while. It's been a while. Well, let's move on. With all the good comes the bad. Do you have a worse memory being a Niners fan? It could be playoff Super Bowl loss, a guy getting hurt, anything like that.
I want to say 98. Was it 98? Garrison Hurst shatters his ankle. Yeah, that one was rough because I think we would have beat the Broncos in the Super Bowl that year.
Mm-hmm.
That was rough. And then Bowman shattering his ACL in 2013.
Yeah.
And then I think Harbaugh getting fired was the one that was just like, you got to be fucking kidding.
Yeah.
What are we doing? Like, what is the problem? Like, extend this, man. But also talking to players since then, it might have really have been a mutual decision. Like,
I think
Harbaugh got $50 million for 5 years. That's 10. He got a big pay raise. He got like $6 million a year pay raise. So I don't blame him. It is what it is. The other one to me, like, and it's not even the Niners really. It's more like the Kaepernick thing. It's like, how it all ended with him. Like he could have. I firmly believe this. I don't know if your audience cares about this stuff, but I firmly believe Kyle Shanahan could have made it work with Cap for 2 years. Like to me, that's his original sin. Like you could have just made it work with a guy who's mobile, who had talent. He just needed to be in an offense that fit his skill set, right? And you're going to bring in the guys like Pierre Garçon, Marquise Goodwin, and those were your plans. You could have made some of that shit work because it took Jimmy Garoppolo to come in and not know the offense to win 5 games. All you needed was a little bit of an upgrade in quarterback. And I think everyone in listening or everyone in this room right now would agree that Kaepernick's better than fucking Brian Hoyer and CJ Beathard. You know what I mean? It's like those things are kind of irritating to me, but the biggest one is, to me, I think the Garrison Hurst one. That would have been the year to get 6. Like we would have been well on pace to get 6, and who knows what the franchise turns into after that.
You remember Steve Young, his last concussion? Isn't that what it was?
Oh, that was terrible, dude.
Yeah.
Yes, Williams. Oh, I mean, it's not intentional, but it's just Steve had so many that.
Do you remember who missed the block?
What was that, G?
Do you remember who missed the block on Arnaz Williams?
I don't remember.
It was Phillips, man. That Lawrence Phillips, I think his name was.
I think so.
Yeah, he was a Nebraska running back, and I just remember I wasn't the biggest fan of him, and then he was on the team, and he missed that block, and I just remember him getting that. Remember Steve taking a hit and going down, and remember my older brother, because he was a Niner fan, he was like, man, Niners are done, and then Jeff Garcia comes and wins the game, which is surprising, but that was the last time I got to see Steve, man, which was
rough, man. It sucks.
What about, you got anything else, G? There's only one more I want to ask about.
Go ahead, man.
Of course, the most recent Super Bowl versus Kansas City. You guys were winning until, Kansas City was making a run out of those comebacks in that playoff run. Tyreek Hill, the wasp route, Sammy Watkins beats Richard Sherman. I mean, were you ever comfortable with that lead that the Niners had?
No. I feel like it's a hindsight. I feel like I'm saying it in hindsight, but halfway through the season, I started losing faith in Jimmy Garoppolo. 2019, because I had questions about his ability to throw the ball down the field. But the issue with that wasp call, it was just like, you can tell somebody blew an assignment, and you go back and watch it. Yep, Emmanuel Mosley blew an assignment. And there's a couple of things that I found out that were to kind of kill narratives or whatever. Kyle Shanahan stopped running the ball. No, Kyle didn't stop running the ball. Kyle called run plays. Jimmy Garoppolo checked out of them. And this is coming from Joe Staley. This is coming from Mike Person. Coming from Ben Garland. It's coming from Weston Richburg. How do I know these things? Because they've been on the podcast. Like, they've told me these things. Right? So it's not, I don't blame Kyle Shanahan for that. I don't blame Jimmy Garoppolo for it either, because Jimmy made the right call. It's just the play didn't get executed. The tip passes, part of that is part of the offensive line's fault. It's not the quarterback's fault. If they get 2 conversions in that third quarter, the game's over, because they probably score. The game's over. So that was a rough one. I really thought we had it, considering how well the Niners played the entire season. But in hindsight, looking back at it, it's kind of good we lost that Super Bowl, because where would we be as far as a quarterback decision, right? Are we getting rid of Jimmy Garoppolo at this point? Or are we not? Because could you get rid of a guy that's won a Super Bowl 3 years later?
He'd be on a fat deal. He'd be on a big money deal. Yeah.
The expectations would be much higher. And then, you're calling, the fan base is calling for his head and Kyle's head, and things just aren't where they are. So, it might have worked out in their best interest to do that. Now, granted, you always want to win a Super Bowl, but, for the long term of the team, probably best to move on. Right? Yeah. That's kind of where we are.
That's actually a perfect leadway into our our last section here. Our future expectations, like, are we moving on from Jimmy? What's going on there? What's your future expectations? Like, what do you want to go for as far as free agency that's left over, and then the draft? Go on, have at it to, kind of cap this off.
I mean, as far as expectations go, my expectations are pretty measured, right? I think the floor for this team in 2022 is 9 wins. I think at that floor, it's realistic. You for me, I don't set myself up to be heartbroken anymore, right, about this team. So with the roster and how well it's constructed, yes, they should be in the playoffs. But also I understand that this quarterback that we have now has only had 2 professional starts. He's played 10 quarters of football. He hasn't played he has literally 381 pass attempts in his football career in college and NFL. So there's going to be some learning curve. There's going to be some bumps in the road that are going to come with that, right? And we're watching the free agency stuff play out right now. The Niners play the AFC West, right? That's 4 really tough games they got to play. So, can they go 2-2 in there? Cool. That'd be great. It'd be awesome if they did that. The division, it's still the division. It's still Seattle, regardless of how we feel about Drew Lock. It's still Seattle. There's a mystique about that fucking stadium. The Rams are still good. Arizona still got really good players. So it gets really tight there. As far as moving on from Jimmy Garoppolo, yeah, I fully expect to move on from Jimmy Garoppolo because the team told you that they were. And, they've spent the better part of 18 months telling you that they don't want this guy, so he won't be here. Now, where did he end up? I don't care. As long as they get something for him, I'm at the point now, just cut the guy and save the money because he's going to get signed for more than $7.5 million anyway. So cool, you might eat that $7.5 million for a little bit, but someone's going to pay him and you'll get that money right back. So it's not a big deal. I get that they want to gain some value from him, get some value back for him, but at this point, it's a sunk cost. Like you won the trade that you got him in because you made 2 NFC title games, you made it to a Super Bowl, you won a bunch of games. So yeah, you won that trade. The value isn't going to be a 2nd-round pick. Like I view it's crazy to think that Jimmy Garoppolo has maintained a 2nd-round value his entire career. Drafted in the 2nd round, traded for a 2nd-rounder, and then maybe again traded for a 2nd-rounder. How often does that kind of shit happen? It's pretty tough for that to happen. So we'll see how that goes. As far as free agency goes, the rest of the way, I don't mind them not going after big names because that kind of shit's bit them in the ass before, right? They are letting guys walk that kind of expected to walk. Laken Tomlinson, DJ Jones, those guys played really, really good football, and they earned those big contracts that they got. And, no one's going to pay a $10 million defensive tackle if you can't afford it. Why do that for the Niners? Why would I pay $13 million for a guard when I'm paying almost 20-something for Trent Williams, right? Go get myself a $6 million guard who can do similar things. A guy like Will Hernandez would be ideal for this offense. That's a guy like from New York. I posted numbers on Twitter the other day. Literally, he had like 6 less snaps and he allowed 5 less QB hits, right? And only 1 more sack. So like those, you're getting similar snaps. And
he's a great run blocker too.
Yeah, exactly. You put him on the right side next to McGlinchey. If McGlinchey's back, you go with Aaron Banks to the left and figure out your center position. I want them to figure out their center position for long term. I don't want them to keep doing this 2-3 years, keep changing their fucking guy. Like go draft somebody and figure it out. Draft wise, I think Niners got to get a safety. I think they got to get a center. I think they need to get themselves a true slot receiver. I want them to draft a running back. I would love for them to draft a true RB1. I like Elijah Mitchell, but he's not an RB1. It's just not.
James Cook?
Not who he is. I don't know if James Cook could be an RB1, but I think they're in the market for that, right? I think Kyle's looking for a true 3-down back who can see the hole and get to it. Elijah Mitchell, he's a good player, but he left a lot out there on the field. And I think Kyle would say the same thing, right? I think Kyle would say the same thing. He left a lot of big plays out there, but that's part of being a rookie, so he's going to learn. Defensively, I would like for them to get another corner. I'm not sold on Ambry Thomas at all. Add another linebacker. Then I think they need to get themselves another, not top tier, but mid-tier pass rusher that can go with Bosa on the first unit, where you slide down Armstead back in the 3 technique where he needs to be. And if Hassan Ridgeway steps in to play the DJ Jones role, that'd be nice. Bring back Arden Key. A couple of things there. I think the roster's built really well. They just have to get some other pieces to supplement their big name players, and I think that's what they're going to do.
Oh yeah, man.
Sorry, I just I've been thinking about it for the last couple of weeks.
Good. I got one more question. It's about Charvarius Ward. That deal. How did you feel about that? I know he's 3 years, $40 million. He's ranked above a couple of the top corners out there. Jair Alexander, Xavier Howard. How'd you feel about that contract?
I think it's smart, right? I think the Niners going to have to overpay for a corner at some point. Overpaying a young guy, I don't mind. He's 25, right? You keep a young secondary. Manuel's he's 25. Ward's 25. E-Man and Demo are 22 each. So get younger, right? Norman was 30 something. Sherm was 32. Like, you want to get younger. And that's kind of what you want to do. Keep this team young and churn the roster. Part of this, me being in this podcast game and analysis game, I've come less attached to players and kind of looking at this as a business more so than a fan. There's business decisions that have to be made here. So you churn the roster as much as you can. With the Ward thing, it's all about the guaranteed money. He didn't get that much guaranteed money. Like, he got like $15 million less than J.C. Jackson. Like, I don't want to hear it from fans like, oh, we could have got J.C. Jackson if Jimmy Garoppolo was traded. Well, free agency works two ways. It's like dating, right? Both parties have to agree to this. Like, J.C. was never
swipe right, someone can swipe left.
Yeah, like, he wasn't coming to San Francisco. He just wasn't going to.
Yep.
Did the Niners have interest? Yes, the Niners had interest. That doesn't mean J.C. Jackson was coming, right? It's just kind of how it laid out. Like, would I want them to go get another corner? Like, I wanted Casey Hayward. He ended up going to the Raiders, but Stephon Gilmore's still out there.
Yeah,
can you get Stephon Gilmore for 1 year, $6 million? If you can, you fucking do it. And I think that's something that they might consider. But if not, then go draft a guy and keep developing these guys. Like, this draft class has some really good corners, and there's an underrated kid from Sam Houston, Zion Mccomb. He's really fucking good. Like, that's a guy that would be, 5th round pick that you can develop. He's got really good speed. He smoked the combine. He was like number one in literally every category. It's pretty insane for his, and I meant every category by like, except for bench press. Like, he was like the number one guy there. So he has all your physical traits that you want, and the game tape is really good for him. So he's got good ball skills. So that's a guy you might be able to get him in the 4th or 5th round. Like, do that.
Yep.
Instead of going to pay stuff. And that's part of the problem. People are like, oh, the Rams can sign these players, this and the third. Yeah, the Rams do that because they get these guys on their last leg of their contract, and they have the other team eat most of the salary, and they can fit them in at $800,000 or $1.2 million, whereas the Niners they're all about maintaining classes, right? You got your upper class, right? Your Trent Williams, your Bosa's, your Kittles. Those contracts are 15 and 50 million or higher, and then you got your guys that are 10 or 12, and you got your guys that are 8 to 10, and then a good portion of them are $4 million or less. And that's how you can maintain depth, right? Yeah. Think about it. If the Rams were to lose one of their big name players, they're fucked. And what I mean by fucked, like, you lose Aaron Donald, that's a big deal.
100%.
Right? You drop, if Cooper Kupp goes down, you're in trouble, right? Like, but the Niners, they've built enough depth with all their players because they're all cross-trained. They're all, and none of them are going to hinder them as far as, financially to do that stuff. You hear fans like restructure. Bro, restructuring is like putting shit on a credit card. Eventually, you got to pay that bill.
Yeah.
Look at the Saints. Like, they're doing all this restructuring.
The Bills just did it with Von Miller's new contract. They pushed it to 6 years, but it's really 3.
It's 3, right? And that's a smart thing because they're not gonna want to have to carry that dead money after he's fucking 50 years old. Like, that's just smart teams do shit like that. Like, I get it. The Rams are aggressive. They want to win now. They want to continue to win now, and it's working for them. Cool. But at some point, it's going to get to an impasse, right? How long is Stafford going to play?
Yeah.
You want to pay him $50 million a year?
Then McVay will be in the booth calling games.
I think that's part of what's going to happen in the next couple of years anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah. I definitely like what you said about the guy from Sam Houston, high spark score, and Emmanuel Mosley. When he was coming out, he had a high spark score, and, he turned out pretty solid. So, maybe you could put 2 together.
It's kind of what I hope they do some stuff like that. So they should be good to go. The team's going to be fine, right? I'm not too worried about it. I think they're still in a window to make a run next couple of years.
Yeah, I totally agree, man. But all right, man, that's all the time we have for today. But if you want to go ahead and plug yourself one more time, let us know where we can find you. So, have at it.
Yeah, man, I appreciate y'all having me. Appreciate the love. But yeah, you can find me on Twitter at @Javier_. Follow the podcast at 4th and Gold Podcast. And if you're Niners Nation, Tuesday, so we do the Oh Hey There podcast with Leo.
Oh Hey There.
Yeah.
Oh Hey There.
So yeah, check that out. And then, if you want to read some stuff, I got some guys putting out some draft content here soon at 49ersgoldmine.com. If you guys want to write, it's an open forum. Just hit me up. I'll give you a password. Write what you want as far as Niner related and draft related. We'll get you taken care of too. I just want to help people out with all this. I know there's a part of Twitter that doesn't like my opinions, but I can't sit here and say that I haven't helped a lot of people out get to certain spots where they're at. So that's at the end of the day, that's kind of what I want to take away from all this stuff.
Hell yeah, man. Just send me all the links and everything. We'll put it everything down below on description. You guys can follow us. And yeah, man, Duran, anything else to say?
No, good luck to everyone. Good luck in the draft. Good luck in free agency and this upcoming season.